Don't let your county tax assessor catch you slipping, because you will be tripping. Imagine you living in your house, making your mortgage payment, and there's this shark called the county tax assessor circling your house, waiting at any time to reassess your property, to bring up your property taxes. It's already hard enough that you got to make your mortgage payment with principal, interest, hazard insurance, and now an increase in property taxes. What? What's going on, guys? My name is Minh with What's a Mortgage. Welcome to our channel. The goal of our channel is to simplify home ownership. If it's your first time tuning into our channel, do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe or notification button so you're notified every time we go live or post new content. We go live every Monday night on Facebook and YouTube, Tuesday on Instagram, and we post content daily on Instagram and our TikTok page. Also, this is an interactive channel, so ask a lot of questions. If you have mortgage questions, we have mortgage answers. And tonight, guys, we are going to go over property tax reassessment. If you're thinking about owning a home or you already own a home, this video is for you. Definitely the last thing you want to happen as you are on your way to paying off your home is see the rise in your property taxes. I see it's happening more now than ever because so many people are making changes. And tonight we want to go over those changes so you don't get caught slipping and then you start tripping. So tonight, property tax reassessment. If you want to see the rest of our series on property taxes, go to youtube.com/what's a mortgage and watch our other property tax video. We have videos on everything you need to know about property tax, supplemental taxes. So definitely check out our other video. Let's get into it. First, what is property tax reassessment? This is when a property value gets reassessed even though it already has been in the past. So you bought a home and they already assessed your property, but they get reassessed for some reason. The point of the reassessment is to obtain the most up-to-date value. So if you bought a home, don't get too excited and don't walk around proud. I bought a home for $300,000 and now it's worth $700,000. You want to keep that to yourself. The last thing you want is to announce to the world that your home is worth more. But even if it's worth more, doesn't mean they can come out and reassess and change the value of your property and increase your taxes. That's the most important thing you got to know. Even though your home is worth more. What does it mean by that? So let's say your home, you bought it for 300 grand. Let's say your tax rate is 1%. That means every year you pay $3,000 in taxes. But let's say now your home gains all this value and it's worth $600,000 and the tax rate is 1%. So you're going to pay $6,000 a year now instead of the $3,000. You see what I'm saying? So every year as home goes up in value, they can't go out and reassess it unless there's a reason. If you're in the state of California, there is a rule where they can only reassess your property 2% a year because of Prop 13. In the 70s, it was like, heck no, we can't do this. If properties were reassessed at new values every year, monthly payments would be too high. So in California, each state is different. They can only reassess the property 2% a year. They can't go off the new value, just increase only by 2% a year. But there are ways the county tax assessor looks to reassess your property. So they're waiting for that crack. Don't open up that crack because they will slide themselves in. And here are the two reasons why property taxes get reassessed in California. Other states, it might be a little different, but most states, they kind of follow the same guideline. Of course, the first reason why they would come out to reassess your property is change or transfer of title. Of course, if you buy a home or you sell a home, whoever's taking over the property, that's the transfer of title. Number two, if you add any upgrades to your property that requires permits. And a lot of people are doing upgrades right now. If you add or take off co-signers, they will reassess your property except for a spouse. If you add or take family members off, they will reassess your property. Transfer, change of title, pretty self-explanatory. If you own a home and you sell it, the new person who takes over the home, the property will be reassessed at that new purchase price. But if you lived in your home for a period of time, let's say 5 or 6 years, and you transfer title, if you just take someone off, you're okay. But if you remove somebody to add somebody on and they are not your spouse, your child, the property will be reassessed. Let's say you had someone help you co-sign and you remove them, but you don't add anyone else, you're safe. But if you add someone new to title that is not your child or your spouse, the county tax assessor, the sharp will just come out and reassess your property. They will go with the new value. Let's say you bought a home and 10 years later or 20 years later, you decide to add someone to title. They will reassess it with the new value 10 years later. This happens a lot when people buy a home and then they put it in an LLC. So if you put it in an LLC or a trust and there's someone else's name on that trust or LLC that wasn't on the original title, they will reassess the property. Let's say you have a trust and in that trust, the beneficiary belongs to someone who wasn't on the original title. There is a chance. Every state is different, but on an LLC, for sure. Let's say you bought a home, you put in your LLC, you're on the LLC, but you have a business partner that wasn't on the original deed. Guess what? The property will be reassessed. So be very careful changing title back and forth. The reason why I know, my dad added my brother, who is his son, but we didn't do the correct paperwork and they reassessed the property. And when they reassessed it, they bought their home for $191,000. It got assessed at I think $500, $550 when we added my brother to title. Because we took our sweet time, you have within 2 years to do it, and we lollygagged and we got near the tail end, guess what the county tax assessor did? They kept stretching out the timeline or stretching out the paperwork, adding more things. And by the time the 2 years was up, it was too late. Even though we had all the documents and we were working with the county tax assessor and they knew what we were trying to do, we weren't able to fix it. The reason why, because it was past the 2 years. So it's very careful. If you're going to add a spouse or child, you do it correctly. That's one way they reassess your property. The second way, which is happening across the United States right now, if you add any upgrades that require permits. Of course, people are staying in their homes longer and they start doing things to their home, like renovations. They add square footage, they add a pool, they add a bedroom, anything that requires permits, the county will come out and reassess it. I see it happening a lot right now because people aren't moving out of their house. So they're trying to make their home a lot more comfortable. So what they're doing is they're doing renovations. Of course, if anything that doesn't require renovations, they're not going to do anything to your house. But let's say you add an ADU. You build an ADU and you get permits, wham, they're going to come out. And typically you need equity to renovate. Unless you do a renovation loan where you can do all the renovations up front, you're going to pay a little bit higher of an interest rate, but it is cheaper than down the road doing your renovations and then county tax assessors increasing the property taxes. So you wait 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Oh, I have tons of equity. Or you inherit a home from your parent or grandparent, and now you want to do renovations because it was too expensive to find a house somewhere else, or you can't even find a home. So now you renovate the property. So the county tax assessor, and boom, they get you. And they reassess your property and they raise your property taxes. These two reasons scare the crap out of me. So now, before I do something or I talk to a client, I tell them this straight up, because who wants to find out with a letter in the mail saying their property taxes went from $1,900 a year to $5,500 a year? It's not too big of a difference, but it is a big difference depending on your income level. So those are the two reasons they will reassess your property. But let's say we're not talking about permits now. Permits, we know for a fact. How about if you change title? There are a couple tricks. Let's talk about transferring property from parent to child or grandparent to grandchild. So if you have a home, especially now, everything that's going on with baby boomer, and this is why there's a lack of inventory in the market. People aren't selling their homes. They're passing on to their child and grandchild. Because they're doing that, that's the reason why there's not enough inventory in the market, and that's why prices are so high. And imagine also if you inherited a property, would you want to sell that property to buy another property with a higher property tax rate or with a higher property tax value? So definitely, guys, if you inherit a property, you want to inherit it correctly so you don't do something stupid with raising your property taxes. And also that's the reason why people aren't selling. So transferring a property from parent to child and grandchild. There's something called Proposition 58. So Proposition 58 excludes transfers of real property between parent and to child from reassessment. So if you're a parent and you give your house to a child, the property will not get reassessed. Most of the time, they're owner-occupied properties, not investment. Of course, if the child is moving into it, owner-occupied as well, you should be safe from reassessment. Of course, if the parent has multiple properties, there are rules you got to follow, but definitely use Proposition 58. There is a form, left the link for the form right there. If you are going to pass a home to your child and you want to save yourself a lot of grief trying to go back to the county assessor to evaluate, hey, this is my parents' house, relax, county tax assessor, don't come in and reassess my property. If you do the form up front, you will be okay, especially when you go out and you decide to refinance the home in your name, or you're trying to get it back from your parents somehow through a transfer of deed. There is a form, you do click the box, but sometimes people forget to click it or check it. Sometimes the county doesn't recognize it. That's why there's a form. Make sure you get this form handled so when the parent goes to child, the property taxes don't increase. Now let's talk about our next form, Proposition 193. Proposition 193 excludes transfer of real estate property from grandparent to grandchild from reassessment. This is only if the parent of a grandchild who qualifies as a child of a grandparent are deceased as of the date of transfer. So if you are a grandparent, passes on a home to you, and it doesn't go to your parents, but goes directly to you, your parents must pass away for you to receive the property and not have the property reassessed. If your parent is alive, it's better that they pass it to your parent and then have your parent pass it on to you. People go through this mistake a lot. For some reason, as a grandparent, I understand my mom loves my son. She puts up with me and she loves my son. So a lot of grandparents, they love their grandchild. They pass on the home, but if the parent has not passed, the property will be reassessed. The parent has to pass, but if the parent hasn't passed, it has to go from grandparent to parent, then to child if you want to avoid reassessment, which happens a lot. There's other strategies you can do where you're doing it in a trust. It's a non-revocable trust where you can pass from grandparent to child, and then child has to pass it on. There's a bunch of rules you can follow for this to happen. So make sure you're following the right rules, because the last thing you want to do is get excited you inherit a property that your grandparent probably bought in the 40s, 50s, or 60s that's worth $1 million, and now you're paying the property tax on $1 million and not on the original purchase price. In the 70s, the laws did change. I forgot what year in the 70s. It did change where they only can reassess it 2% a year. So they did reassess at a higher value, but you're getting it from the base in the 1970s, okay? Unless you bought it in the 80s and 90s, a little bit different. If you bought before the 70s, of course, rules are a little bit different. Hopefully, all this makes sense to you. If you have more questions regarding Prop 58 and Prop 193, go ahead and go to this link. So you have questions. You have like, well, if I am one of 4 child and I'm going to get this property, it's a third property, will I pay taxes? So if you have any questions regarding transfer of title, if you're going to get the property or not, I am not a lawyer, so I can't give you legal advice on title. But for more information, for most of the questions that you want to know are on that link right there. Hopefully this information was useful. If it was, do me a huge favor. Please comment and ask questions, and save this video, share this video, and like this video. It helps out the algorithm and it helps me out a lot. And you know what, a secret to bring down interest rates and to add inventory? Follow my page, right? Hit that subscribe button and more properties will hit the market and prices will come down and rates will come down. I'm kidding. That is just a joke, but it does help though, okay? Also, guys, here are my other channels you can follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Please follow us. It does help us out a lot, all right, guys? Hopefully you enjoy our content. Let's go some Q&A. Also, out there, if you have a loan estimate and times are getting tough, an extra $2,000 matter. I would suggest you shop for the best deal you can out there. Imagine $2,000. $2,000 can get you a new washer or dryer. $2,000 can get you an amazing TV. $2,000 will help pay your supplemental tax bill once you get it, and you will get it once you buy a house. So shopping for a better deal can save you about $2,000 or more, or a couple $100 a month that can go towards your supplemental tax bill that you will have coming up. Hopefully you found our information useful. Like I said, do me a huge favor. If I brought you value, save this video, share this video, and like it. Enjoy the rest of the night. We want to end all our episodes with our attitude is gratitude. Without you, there would be no us. So thank you so much.